figured why not take you guys on a little live run through of how I like to prepare for my juggling sessions. In particular, when it comes to using the 16 for more classic juggling, it's important to get the body primed, warmed up, and good to go. A lot of these activation drills and exercises, along with the joint mobility, can be found in my new course coming out December 19th, which is an introduction into kettlebell juggling, a foundational look at everything involved with starting your juggling journey. And so a lot of this you'll be able to find in there. So what I'm going to start with, to start getting into the body and the joints as well, is actually some rope flow. I'm going to try and stay on the platform because it's very wet and muddy out. I talk a little bit about rope flow. Just realized there's a deer behind me as well. Hey, buddy. He's probably a bit confused. I talk a little bit about rope flow in my course and how I've been doing rope flow for almost 2 years now. A little newer discipline for me compared to kettlebells and using the mace, but it's a really excellent way to not only start to warm up the body and get some really good movement in, because what we're doing is essentially moving in all directions. We're rotating like you'll see me do here, and there's a lot of cross body patterns. So we're moving in some great ways, not only in our frontal plane, moving side to side here, but also forwards and backwards. And again, a lot of rotation. However, one of the main reasons why I really enjoy rope flow is the coordination piece. When you start to really get smooth with the rope, you start to organize your body to move the most efficient it can by connecting all of your body parts together. So you'll see that my hand movements are mixing with the movements of my spine, which move with my knees and feet. So I find it's a great way to just start getting into a lot of the coordination that can be very beneficial for when we start juggling. I've also taught quite a few students around the world in the art of kettlebell juggling who have come from a rope flow background, and they are always more coordinated and learn quicker because their body understands the different movement pathways that are possible. Just gonna do a little bit more here. It's actually quite slippery on this mat today. Something to take into consideration. You don't want to be slipping and sliding around this time of year. It's a bit difficult to get outside. There's a lot of mud. One more pattern just for my shoulders. But you make the most of what you can do. I'm gonna go grab a towel, wipe it off a little bit. Last thing on the rope is that I find a lot of patterns, especially these behind the back patterns like this, or this one's called the Hanuman's Dance. So a lot of good shoulder mobility, elbow mobility happening behind the body, which can be really great for warming up the behind the back sequences. All right, I've gotten into the body a little bit. Thank you, rope. Thank you, Jared, Michael Thomas, for gifting me this rope in New York. Next, actually, before we get into the band, I'm gonna do a little bit of full body joint mobility. I present a more full version again in my upcoming course, that I have adapted towards juggling. So with clients over the years, have found what works well in terms of what joints we're getting into and what approach to mobility is important before juggling. Because there's a lot of strain on different joints when it comes to juggling, so we pay extra attention to those parts of the body. Anyways, here we go. I'm gonna get into the wrists. Fingers. Learned this one from Franken Legs, Coach Zach, out of the Steel Mace world, Indian Club world. Warming up the fingers. Getting into the elbows and the wrists, rolling out the wheel. Getting into the elbows a little bit more. Elbows are important to get into before juggling. A lot of people, when they're new to juggling, that's one of the primary areas they experience discomfort or a lack of joint adaptability, let's say, especially on the inside of the joint of the elbow, can take a lot of strain at the beginning of your journey. So it's important to warm that up. Shoulders. Today I'm going to be looking at completing another section of a program I've written for myself. I can hear my shoulders crack, especially this left one. Dislocated a few times. Not due to juggling, due to jiu-jitsu originally, and then had a bit of a catalyzing effect with some other activities like soccer. All right, shoulders, open up the chest a little bit. Beautiful day. So I'm going to get into the upper body. Big fan of these translations, shifting side to side. I'm going to pause on one side and pop down. Look at some side bending. My ribs have been a bit sore recently from not properly warming up. Launching a new course, having a young daughter, and the weather not being super nice. It's been challenging to find time to get outside, prioritizing times to get outside. And when I do, I try and get a lot done in a short amount of time. And that can be a recipe for being a little extra sore. All right, a little more for the upper body. One I've been really loving, also a bit of an activation drill, I think, or I feel, is this drill right here. I'm going to hug, go wide at the feet, keep my hips still, actually lock out my glutes and my hip, and look at some deep rotation around the body. Trying to find a max range, as well as keep the core activated throughout this whole range of motion. few more. Going through a few extra things today, just because I feel a little more locked up in these colder days. It's good to get a little extra movement in. Hips. Just before that, do a few more. T-spine. Some good rotation. And then drop into the hips a bit. So I will most of the time not take this much time to warm up and get the body primed and good to go. But I am joining in on an online competition run out of Russia. Bell is in the air, it's called. Winter edition. And it's a self-recorded performance. And I've made quite a difficult program for myself. I haven't had a lot of time to practice. A little coffee break. And so I'm going to send that in within the next week or two. And I have yet to complete the whole program. That's why we're out here. Not a fan of this mat right now. It's a little slippery. All right, so that's going to be it for mobility. I'm going to grab this band to get into a little bit of activation. I'm going to do some swings in a bit, get the glutes and the core firing. I'm a big fan of David Weck's coiling core as it comes to juggling, because I think there's a lot of rotational and side bending principles that happen when we juggle. And naturally, to warm up those patterns is important. Do a classic royal coil, but just with the band. Looking for deep glute, oblique activation. Woo. Bit of a modified exercise. Ooh, that sun's hitting hard. That's nice. But also probably pretty bright and not the best for juggling. It's a modified coiling core exercise I use for warming up some more lateral implications of juggling. Going across here. Get into shoulders a little bit. All right, one more to warm up OTS pattern. Over the shoulder, this guy. Primarily only doing those on my right side these days, as I don't fully trust my left shoulder to that capacity. I can do it, but it's just not a favorite. Diagonal OTSs are a little easier, I think, in general as well. All right, I'm gonna get into some bell activation. I'm gonna move you guys around. So the sun isn't in my eyes. All right, what a beautiful place this is. I'm gonna pop you there. All right. I'm gonna jump in with the 12 kg. go through some, actually at first, some swings with a 16. Hardstyle swings. Hardstyle swings activate the glutes and the core much more than a soft style swing, which is primarily, ideally, used with juggling. So I like it just to get things firing, especially when we start throwing those mills. Shit gets pretty heavy. And so if you're coming down, you want to make sure your glutes and your core are on and they're stable, and this connection between your pelvis is connected by your glutes and your core, allowing also for some rotation. It's important. Outline more of that in my upcoming course. All right, so grab my 12, start to go through some movement patterns, some 3D movement with the bell. Since we start activating those movement pathways, get them in the body. Get the feet coordinated with the rotation. Make sure as I'm doing these, I feel my my lat a little more activated because of that coil and core exercise. My glutes on, my core's on. So it feels like my shoulder is actually very stable doing these. But the ground is not. Turn away from the sun. Yeah, that pretty much does it. Setting windmills, also great for starting to warm up and activate the core from some different angles. All right, 16 kg, baby. Let's see what we got. No matter how confident I feel with the 16, for me at least, there's always a tiny bit of hesitation because it's a heavy weight when tossed up in the air. This is actually a new bell I got not too long ago, and I'm still getting used to it. It's the exact same bell as my last one I've been using. However, the last one, on the inside there's a piece that came off, so I got used to the detached inner portion of the bell, and now this is all solid inside and I'm starting to feel everything come off. You can kind of feel stuff kind of like ripping off. It's not a very nice sound, actually. All right, here's how I'm going to start warming up. 16 kg movements by getting caffeinated. Put my cup over there just in case shit goes flying. Try not to step too much. I'm gonna pop it over here. Gonna get into some simple mills on 90. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, feels good, feels good. Amazing what a little bit of warm up can do. Help activate everything. Feels good. I think juggling, more than anything else I've tried, and I've tried a lot of different disciplines, sports. It's very humbling. It really makes you check yourself. Not only your body's capacity to withstand the weight, which for anyone, I don't care where you come from, is heavy and awkward, because we're being loaded in so many ways that we're not used to. However, it's also a really great test and checkpoint for yourself, or a checking and honesty with yourself when it comes to focus and state. Because we're juggling a cannonball. Shit can go wrong. And it does for all of us. Most often when we have not prepared physically or mentally, or we are not focused or present. That's when all injuries take place. And when we aren't humble. Ego can be a bit of a dangerous one when it comes to juggling. All right, I feel good for 16. I'm gonna warm up one more movement pattern, then let you guys go. I feel good for this session. I feel activated, which was the point of this video. I feel activated, I feel strong. I feel like when that bell pulls me, everything is connected and activated in a way that secures my shoulder, my elbow, my spine. And now comes some of the grind. All right, I'll warm up one more little sequence for you guys. Well, that's gonna be in my routine. I'm gonna do single mills. It's going to be a simple mill on 90, followed by a lateral simple mill, followed by a simple mill on 90, this time to the back side. Okay, OTS. Another OTS on 90, over the back, simple, lateral over the back, simple, followed by a simple mill 180, followed by a simple on 90, back to the front. I'm going to do this a few times. This is when I'm going to start favoring one side, because that's just how programs go. Let's do this. What happened there was, I'm not used to doing my over the backs with a single flip. I'm almost always doing a double or a triple. So that single felt really low. And so it messed up my catch here. Somehow caught it and then adjusted to throw that 180. Let's try that again. But I'm going to do 2 over the back, because that's a little easier for me. Oh, Okay, one more. I'm gonna change to obliques. And some doubles in the mix. That was silly. I didn't decide if I wanted to do a double or a triple. I'm gonna do double. 2, 2, 2. 1, 2. All right, my friends, that's it. I'm gonna sharpen up a bit more before jumping into my program. Peace out.